Today is Wednesday, June the 10th, and this is the Daily Word. My name is Dale. I'm one of the pastors here at Redeemer Bible Church, and we are in John 16 today. Now, yesterday we were in John 15, where Jesus was telling his disciples that he was the true vine, and obviously that meant something to them as Jews, because they had been taught their entire lives that Israel was the vine. And now Jesus is making a very specific and a very fantastic claim that he indeed is the true vine. And this would have been, like I said yesterday, this would have been shocking to them. And then going into the last part of 15, which we did not address yesterday, Jesus is preparing his disciples for tribulation, telling them that the world hates him and the world's going to hate them as well. But he's also talking about how the Holy Spirit is going to come to them. He talked a little bit about that in the first part of 15 as well. But in verse 20 specifically yesterday, I want to bring this up for a reason. In chapter 15, verse 20, Jesus says, "Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, they will also keep yours." Now, Jesus is basically telling them, as ambassadors, as my disciples, you are going to be treated the way that I'm going to be treated and the way I have been treated. So that sets up the context of what Jesus continues to talk about at the very beginning of chapter 16. So Jesus says in 16:1, "I have said all these things to you to keep you from falling away." All what things? Well, everything we just looked at in chapter 15. He is giving them fair warning that if you see people who are not producing fruit, God's gonna collect them. He's gonna gather them up and throw them into the fire. They're not of me. And then he makes the claim: if you are with me, if you have received the Holy Spirit, then you will absolutely produce fruit. And guess what? When you produce that fruit, the world's going to persecute you just like it persecuted me. So that's the message that Jesus has for his disciples going into chapter 16. He's warning them, he's encouraging them that they're about to go into a very hostile world. Now, I don't think, fully have grasped yet what is happening. Jesus knows that he's hours away from hanging on a cross at this point, and he's preparing his disciples for the reality of what's coming, encouraging them so they would remember his words that the world will be hostile towards them. And he says something in verse 2 that I guess, they probably would have thought, yeah, this makes sense. But as you continue to read, I'm sure there had to be some just consternation on their part about what they got themselves into. Verse 2 says, they will put you out of the synagogues. Indeed, the hour is coming when whoever kills you will think he is offering service to God. And they will do these things because they have not known the Father nor me. But I have said these things to you, that when their hour comes, you may remember that I told them to you. Meaning, the people he was with right there, they were going to be killed for their faith. And he's telling them, when that hour comes, you may remember that I told these things to you. But he doesn't leave them hopeless. What does he do? He starts talking about the Holy Spirit. So how does the Holy Spirit work? Well, verses 12 through 15 get into that in our today's reading. It says this: "I still have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now." You can't carry the burden of this. "When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth. For he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will declare to you the things that are to come. He will glorify me, for he will take what is mine and declare it to you. All that the Father has is mine. Therefore I said that he will take what is mine and declare it to you. So obviously we've got a good picture of the Trinity right there, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit working in unison to continue to bring truth into the world about how salvation works and what the church is going to do for the next, as we know now, looking with hindsight, for the next 2,000 years at least. But talking specifically to his disciples, going into verses 16 through 24, Jesus is talking about how there is going to be sorrow that turns into joy. So what you're feeling now, you're not always going to feel. Your sorrow will turn into joy. Verse 16, a little while and you will see me no longer. And again, a little while you will see me. So Jesus is talking about dying on the cross. You're not going to see me. I'm going to go away for 3 days. But then after that, you will see me. I will appear to you. They have no idea what he's talking about right now, but they're about to, just in a few days. They're going to remember what Jesus said here. Their sorrow will turn into joy. Death will be swallowed up, and Jesus will conquer death. And that sorrow, the pain of losing your Lord and thinking that he's gone forever, that sorrow will turn to joy when you realize that he has conquered death. And then things will come into focus for the disciples at that point. And they will get a very clear picture of what their mission is going to be. And then going to the last part of 16, Jesus continues to say that he has overcome the world. What he says here is, I have said these things to you in a figure of speech. The hour is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but I will tell you plainly about the Father. In that day you will ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I will ask the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God. There, another statement of deity, a proclamation that he is God. I came from the Father, and I have come into the world, and now I'm leaving the world and going to the Father. Again, pointing to the coming reality of what's going to happen in the next several hours. Jesus, in the last part of this chapter, the disciples say, Jesus, you're speaking to us plainly. We understand you now. After 3 years of speaking in parables, I guess they knew plain speak when they heard it now. And so Jesus says to them, so you believe me now because I speak plainly to you? Behold, the hour is coming, indeed it has already come, when you will be scattered, each to his own home, and will leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, for the Father is with me. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Again, Jesus talking about just in the next few minutes, few hours, he's going to be arrested, and his disciples will scatter and leave him alone. And we know that Peter, will deny him coming up in our reading this week. So that's chapter 16. Lots of things going on. So I broke it up into an outline. Number 1, witnessing to a hostile world. Number 2, how the Holy Spirit works. Number 3, sorrow will turn into joy. And the 4th is overcoming tribulation. Witnessing to a hostile world is verses 1 through 11. The Holy Spirit, how the Holy Spirit works, verses 12 through 15. Sorrow turns to joy, verses 16 through 24. And then overcoming tribulation, verses 25 through 33. That's the daily word. We'll see you tomorrow for John chapter 17.